So, how are you guys?
Good.
All right. Well, we are here today and we are talking about this month, love in all its many forms, right? And there's a lot of them. And today in specific, we're talking about love and relationships. And when I first got this topic, I have to tell you, the first place my head went was to romantic relationships, primary romantic relationships. And having been single for 10 years, I thought, wow, am I so the wrong person to be talking about this? I thought, unqualified. And then it just took a minute, and then all of a sudden, the pictures of my kids and my grandkids came in, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's family relationships. We all have some sort of family connection or have had in our lives at some point. And then I started thinking about my friends and what I call my family of choice and folks that I just absolutely love, and they become my own personal community. And then I started thinking about all the people I work with and the people that I encounter throughout my day, and then I got confused. I was kind of like, wow, I probably need to dig a little deeper into this, because if God is love, how does that work, really, with all those relationships? And what I know is that it actually depends on how we define love. So we're going to kind of start at the beginning. So, love. We find love in every culture, and there is a term or terms for love in every language, even though it's beyond description, isn't it? Really, if we try and define love, it's beyond description. But Sanskrit has 96 words to define love. Ancient Persian has 80 words. The Greeks have those famous three primary categories. They have a lot of descriptions underneath them, but they have the philios love, which is love between friends. They have the eros love, which is love between lovers. And then there's the agape love, which is that transcendent, indescribable love for God, just that sense of awareness and love. In English, we have one. We love our dogs. We love our family. We love God. We love burritos. I used to love the Broncos, and not so much right now. And I have to question, is the limitations of our language in the Western culture, particularly in those who are English-speaking countries, is it creating a false limitation for us in other arenas? Is it limiting our awareness about what love is and what it can be? And when we say, I love burritos, are we really describing love? Or are we actually using love and like interchangeably and not being quite aware of the distinction? We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I think the truth of it is that love is beyond words. I know it when I see it. I know it when I feel it, don't you? We can just tell. There's just something, there's a quality about it that goes beyond description. Ernest Holmes put it this way. He said that no one can swing into the universal without love, because the whole universe is based upon it. I love that. Don't you love the picture of just swinging out into the universal, which is kind of interesting because we're in it all the time anyway, right? But we can't dive in and really begin to live that direction in that way without being aware that love is the foundation. So it's all it is to it. And in our teaching, Science of Mind and Spirit, is a teaching of oneness. Our first core concept says that God is the source of all that is, and God is all that is. That's our primary belief. The CSL website, in their description, where they're giving a kind of a here's who we are sort of a thing, they say, we believe that God is a loving intelligence, operating in and through all life, never separate from anyone or anything. And in our what we believe, the second point is we believe in the individuation of the Spirit in us, and that all are individual expressions of the one Spirit. We know this, right? We know this. There's nothing else from us to have been made. And we're all connected, and we're all capable of expressing deep love. Now, I love this slide. There are some really, I love this one. Look at this little teeny, little teeny snail next to its big, huge mama snail. But you can see parental love, which is expected. We expect that, right? That's not unusual. But there's a cat with a bird that are snuggling. And there is a chicken warming a puppy. And there are, puppies on a baby, and this little boy who is loving, it's actually a Brahma bull. You can't quite see it, but it's got big horns and everything. He's just snuggling with it. These are different expressions of love from beings that aren't thinking about loving. They don't have the cognitive, intellectual capacity that we have to be thinking about love and choosing what we're loving. It's an impulse, it's an expression. And I think it's inherent in all life. And we're all capable of expressing love in deep ways. I have an example for you. You may have heard, anybody here heard or anything about these women, the Barnes twins you have? Yeah. They are Olympic biathletes. And the one, Tracy on the left and Lanny on the right. Lanny was also the World Cup. She was either the winner or near the top at the World Cup. She had incredible times at the World Cup. God bless you. And at the Olympic trials, they both went to the trials a month ago, and at those trials, Lanny got sick. And she was so sick that her fever went up to over 104, and she was unable to complete the qualifying races. So she was automatically disqualified because she couldn't do it. Tracy went on and competed, and she won a slot on the U.S. Olympic team. And that was such a big deal. And she then learned that if she hadn't taken that spot, her sister would have it. So without even thinking twice about it, she gave it to her sister. And when asked why, she said it was because her sister had a better year this year and deserved the chance to go. So she gave up her spot at the Olympic trials, and that also meant that she couldn't be there at the Olympics because all the funding is, provided if you're a competitor. And so she went home and figured that she wasn't going to get to see her sister race except for a distance, and she said it was fine. She was going to love her from long distance and support her. She lives in Durango, Colorado. And a week beforehand, before the race, they got funding together. People donated funding, and one of her sponsors and some other folks donated funding and flew her to the Olympic site, and she met with her sister just hours before the race and got to be there. And then Lanny said when she got at the top of the gate, she stopped and took a deep breath for a moment and realized she was actually racing for two. That is a huge expression of love, a huge sacrifice. And she said she didn't think anything twice about it. It was just the right thing to do, and she could feel it, and she said it kind of came from here. And that's how things are. Now, it's not uncommon that we can do really deep, really special things for our family, right? For children, for all that sort of thing. So what I want to point out is that this is possible no matter what. This is possible even for people we don't know. When it's coming from that center, that God life that's wanting to express, then love can express in multiple ways. So in honor of the Olympics, I went ahead and picked several Olympic examples for this. We can find these in any part of life, but in the Olympics in particular. In 1936, there was a German long jumper who gave advice to Jesse Owens that helped him qualify for the finals and really made Adolf Hitler angry. Now that's two big things to, he put an American in the front, and he kind of made Adolf Hitler angry. I'm not sure that's a person I would want to be getting annoyed, but he did it anyway. In 1988, a Canadian sailor named Lawrence Lemieux was in second place. He was about to win the silver medal, and a boat near him capsized, and the two men in it started getting into trouble. He instead abandoned his race and dove in and saved them. And he was awarded a French national award for sportsmanship later that year, but he lost the medal. In 2006, the Norwegian cross-country ski coach was delighted as his skier went into medal contention position because the Canadian skier all of a sudden slowed down, and he was like, awesome! And then as the Canadian skier got closer, he noticed that she was slowed down because her pole had broken, one of her ski poles. And he said he just couldn't stomach winning that way. So he ran out on the course and gave her another pole. The final score, the Canadians took the silver, and Norway came in fourth. And what he said was, winning is not everything in sport. What win is that if you achieve your goal, but you don't help somebody win when you could have helped them? Now that is not about sportsmanship, that is love. Right? That is an expression of love, just to go out and just give yourself like that to someone else. There's nothing in it for him, right? It is our nature to connect. It's our nature to be kind. It's our nature to love. It's our nature to be giving. We see this when there's a world disaster, don't we? All of a sudden, people rise up and they just want to give. And there's kindness like you've never seen. You see it after shootings. in schools and theaters. We see it in any kind of tragedy. What I want to tell you is it doesn't just get activated when there's tragedy. It's just when we tend to notice it. It's just when we tend to notice it. When we have the ability to step into that inherent energy that is life, that is God around us, in us, as us, any moment of any day. And when we express love, we build connection. The dictionary actually defines the first definition of relationship is connection. And when we're building connection, we're building relationship. That's just how it works. At the universal level, we're all one. We established that earlier, right? You're not just nodding because I said so. We established that. We all know this, right? Okay. Good. Want to make sure I'm in the right room. So we know that at the universal level, we are all one. There is one life. We are all individualized expressions of that one life. That's what we are. Scientists are now proving it at the physical level. Over 27 years ago, there was an experiment, a series of experiments done by a group of geneticists, and this was the outcome. Said that the geneticists concluded that every person on the planet can trace their lineage to one common female ancestor that was born approximately 200,000 years ago. Now, there's also been further research to break that down into nuances, and they're finding that there are probably 7 distinct strains came from 7 distinct, they call them 7 mothers, but they're all connected, and all of them stemmed from the single. Well, that's kind of interesting to think that if I'm kind of annoyed with Max and don't like him, he may actually be my brother physically. But what they're saying is that there is a connection between all of us. Recent studies at Berkeley take it another level. They're looking for the molecular beginnings of life. They're looking for the beginnings of life and using molecular structures and DNA and things like that to do it. And they said that they were looking at the molecular commonality of human, fungus, and bacterial cells, which, of course, there's a lot of functions that are very different. Otherwise, we'd all would look alike and function alike and all that. But they found a whole bunch that were exactly the same. Exactly the same. They function exactly the same, including the ones that release energy to power cellular work. Energy is the one thing that the universe operates on that is a form element. It's a form element. But it actually is the one thing that the universe operates on that all Newtonian and quantum physicists agree can never be destroyed. It can only shift form. Right? We can't destroy energy. We can only change form. Seems like we're connected in that as well. And then in all traditions, love is universal. We hear this in every faith tradition, right? Now, most faith traditions have a focus of love. So, for instance, in the Abrahamic traditions, which would be Judaism and Christianity and Islam, there is an emphasis on family, children, the elderly, the poor, right? But they don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily translate into other forms of life. It doesn't necessarily translate into other tribes of people who don't believe the way I do. So it's a little bit got a level. Then there's the ones that believe in all sentient life is sacred. That would be like Hinduism and Buddhism. And then there are those who believe that all life, sentient or not, is sacred and is absolutely God in form. That would be like shamanism, pantheism, and Wiccan. Religious science falls into that category. Now, we express it in different ways around the world because we are also a very independent people. And so we all have our own ways of taking it up and our own ways of thinking about our philosophy. But a oneness philosophy basically says that everything stems from spirit. And so therefore all life is God in form. So that means that we're all connected. So what happens then? Where do we get caught up when it comes to relationships? Why are they so challenging when it comes to love and to being able to hold that container, hold that space and that awareness of oneness? Well, you know, it's only when we drop down into the human level of love that we start noticing things like love and like and confusing the two, that they're the same. So I can't love you unless I like you. I'm so sorry. I like your hat. I love your hat, but I can't like you unless I love you. That's absolutely crazy, but we do that. And here's again where I'm wondering if our narrow language is contributing to that issue. We also then confuse different and separate. So we are all distinct. There's not one of us in here that I am confused as somehow my Siamese twin. You know, so we are all distinct individuals, but yet we are all fully connected at our essential nature. We are all source. expressing in countless unique ways, right? So we are all fully connected and we are fully different. We are distinct from one another. But we are not separate. Different and separate are two different things. They don't mean the same thing. And yet we tend to get caught up in that. If you're different than me, then somehow we're separate. So therefore it's okay for me to come and take your land, or it's okay for me to come and hurt you in some regard, or it's okay for me to limit the places you're allowed to go because you're different than me. And we get into that us-them kind of a mentality, right? And then there's this whole, we add versus, us versus them, and now we've got this conflict thing set up, and really, at the core, we're fighting us with us. We're fighting with ourselves. It may not be a part of our own nature that we're expressing, but we are all whole people. We have the ability to express every single thing if we chose to go there. We could express every emotion there is because we all have access to all of it. We have all the same access to all those God qualities in form. Differentiating only puts us then in a form where we're focused on the differences, where we're differentiating human level qualities that impact our human life experience. And that is important because we live in a physical universe where we have to navigate that, right? We are in a place where there is black and white, there is hard and soft, there is day and night. There's all of that. There is you and me. But we get into difficulty when we stay at that level. When we think that that's it, that's the whole of it, that's all there is. That is being at effect. We're not at first cause. We're not at the transcendent nature of the universe. We are actually at the outcome. We are at what has affected, what the demonstration is from the creative source. You know, Science of Mind says that things are created twice, first in mind and then in form. And if we're only dealing at the form level, like we're only dealing at action, we're only dealing at the things that we can see and thinking that's the truth of it, the circumstances of my life have control over me. Anybody here ever dip into that, or am I the only one? You're all looking at me very coldly. I never do that. But when we drop into that belief because it feels so pervasive, because that's just how it looks here, then we're completely operating at the level of the physical. Now, how easy is it to shift things when you're stuck in the physical? Is it simple? It's hard, isn't it? It's kind of like pushing a car and trying to turn it at the same time from a dead stop. It's too dense. We can't do it. But if we were to rise up and take a look at the bigger picture, and we move into consciousness and let things transform from a belief perspective first, and notice what else is possible. Where is love in this situation? How can I feel that love in this situation, even if I'm not able to express it at this moment? And allow ourselves to shift to a higher view, or a deeper view, whichever way you want to view it, to where we're actually in touch with the infinite that we are. All of a sudden it becomes a different way to deal with it, doesn't it? The golden rule when we're at the level of effect, the golden rule is really tough. Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Okay, so there's two ways to take that up then, right? The first way is, I'm going to treat you so nice because then you'll treat me really nice, but then you owe me. But I'm going to treat you really nice because, you're going to owe me. And then that's how I'm going to do that. That's one way. The other way is, I'm so afraid that if I don't you first, you're going to do it to me. I don't think either of those is the actual meaning. Jesus said, love one another though as I have loved you. Well, that's great. But if we're looking at that only from our physical self, and we're only looking at it from the egoic nature, then what we have is we have a story that actually results in sacrificing yourself fully for somebody else to where you completely lose your life, and then you have to be a superhuman to overcome that. That's not a story most of us can actually choose to live in a way that we can actually do it that feels self-supporting. So then we do get into overly serving and things that are challenging for our own health and well-being, and that's not what life is about either. Life is here to be expressed, and we are beings of joy. We are entitled to joy. We are joy in form. But if we can't touch it because we're so busy making everybody else happy, or sacrificing ourselves because somehow that's a path to God, then that's really difficult. It doesn't serve. Now, if we raise ourselves up and we raise our awareness up, then it's different, right? Why do you think all the mystics tell us that we should learn to love? Because, truthfully, learning to love requires a transformation. You can't do it from the physical level. You cannot fully love and embrace love without learning to love yourself first. we are the relationship we are looking for. It's us that we need to be working on. So that's how we start that transformation, is we start taking a look at the primary relationship we have, which is me with me. It's all about me, people. No. At a higher level. It is. It's all about you. It's all about us. We have to take a look at how much we love ourselves. And we can only love others to the limit that we love ourselves. Now, that's challenging if we stay at the human level, especially if we're confusing love and like, because when we love ourselves but don't do what we promised ourselves, does anybody else beat themselves up? Yeah. It's difficult. We go right into judgment, and now we're not doing it right. It has nothing to do with the being. We're now dropped back down into the doing piece. But if we stay at the being level, what if both are true? I love myself, and I don't always keep my word to myself. Don't like that part, but it doesn't mean I don't love me if I can get in touch with the loving of me. And I don't think that we, as humans, do a good job of practicing self-love. I think we will frequently do things that are kind to ourselves, or we'll go to a spa, or we'll go, do something fun, or we'll buy ourselves a treat, or whatever, of some sort. We do things to show ourselves we like us, but do we really demonstrate that we love us? What do we do that actually practices the fact that no matter how well I perform anywhere, no matter if I fail miserably, no matter if I keep or lose my job, I love me. God loves me. I am love in form. Even if I don't like my circumstance, even if I don't like what I did. The more proficient we become at living that and knowing that and bouncing between the two worlds where we can include them and hold those tension of opposites, I like it, but I don't, I love it, but I don't like it, and stand right in the middle of that and know that both are true simultaneously, the more proficient we become at that in our own lives, the more then we're able to extend it to you. I may love you and you may disappoint me. Does that mean you don't love me anymore? No, it doesn't. But we go there, don't we? Yeah, especially if we disappoint me over and over again. We're going to have a talk, But it's just, if we go there, we make up stories about what that actually means. We also do things like we hand away our power to somebody else. I will say to you, I can only be happy if you're happy, and you're not going to love my outfit today. So you're not happy. Well, now I can't be happy. Darn. You can steal my joy. You can't steal my joy. We start looking for people to complete us. We don't realize that there's nothing incomplete, because what we're looking for, we're looking with. I am, at my essence, the same as you are. At the depth of me, you and I are no different. At the core of who we are, everything you have to offer me, I have to offer me. If I will take the time to learn and become aware of it. We are conditioned by our human experience that that's not true. What if that is actually the foundational truth? What happens if we flip that? Think of the freedom. And then I can love you, and you can disappoint me, and I can still love you. And not be confused that that means you don't love me anymore. And now, how do relationships look? I was telling Max this at lunch yesterday. When I was in, I figured it out, it was when I was in Germany. I drove by this big theater, and there's a big sign in the marquee that said all the stage. And I heard myself saying out loud, I do this periodically, heard myself saying out loud, no, it's not, it's a classroom. The whole world is one big freaking lab. So when we're in situations like this, or we're reading, or we're studying in some regard, or we're learning something on our own and journaling, and something drops in, that's the classroom work. But then we get to go out into life, and every single experience we have, whether it's with just ourselves or engaging with others, is a lab. It's an opportunity to practice what we learn. It's not enough to know about these principles and know about these things. It's actually all about embodiment. Transformation happens through embodiment. My life doesn't become more peaceful because my circumstances shift. My circumstances shift when my life becomes more peaceful. And that peace comes from within. So, at our essence, there is really only one of us. And every relationship is a relationship with me, no matter what it looks like on the outside. Melissa Felipe is a musician. She's a New Thought writer and recording musician. She's also going to be a minister here in just a few months, and she's a friend of mine. She has a song that's called There Is Only One of Us, and the lyrics are, there is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. I love that. So here's what I want to leave you with, a simple way to remember this and to consider it when you're looking at relationships and wondering, how can I begin to improve the quality of my relationships? It starts within. So keep in mind that in loving you, I'm loving me. And in loving me, I'm loving you. Because that's really how flow works. And our whole entire world is based on flow. Our human experience is based on the flow of oneness in and through our lives. So we're going to take a few moments here and we're going to practice remembering who we are and practice loving ourselves as part of a ending meditation. Okay, so I just invite you to get comfortable. And I'll be doing a song to go with this, but if you are comfortable closing your eyes, go ahead. If you'd rather keep them open, it's entirely up to you. This is all about you. So I'd like you to take a really deep breath. And let it go. Take another. And now what I'd like you to do is find that deeper part of yourself. Find that deeper part of yourself that remembers who you are. Just allow yourself to feel the expansiveness of that. Just breathe into that awareness. And now allow yourself to start reflecting on the qualities about yourself that you love and how deeply loved you are. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering. So in this moment, we just allow ourselves to be filled with that essence of divine love and the deep gratitude that we have all we need access to everything we need always at every moment. That we are love in form. That our distinctions are simply that, and we don't resonate with everything and everyone, and that is perfectly fine. But we are not confused that we do not exude love and show up as a light of love in every interaction we're in. So with deep gratitude and thankfulness that all we have to do is allow. We just let it go. Let God be God and say yes to showing up fully.